Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Nova Armory Armor and Cleaning Services video. Today we have a Ruger AR-556, which is an AR-15 variant. We're going to first begin by ensuring that there is no magazine in the firearm, checking the magazine well. We're then going to lock the bolt to the rearward position. We're going to visually and digitally inspect to make sure there's no round in the chamber, which there is not. Then, to disassemble an AR-15, we have to close the bolt, push out our takedown pins here, and here. Sometimes they can be a little bit tight. You want to get a tool. Once we remove our front takedown pin, you can separate the receiver halves. Here's your lower receiver and your upper receiver. The next step is to remove your bolt carrier assembly by moving your charging handle rearward about halfway, then removing bolt carrier group. You can then continue to pull back on your charging handle until it drops down, frees itself from the upper receiver. And now you have separated receiver halves, bolt carrier group, and charging handle. The lower receiver group houses the fire control group, which would be the hammer, the trigger assembly. This is something that we're not going to address in this particular video. However, you may be able to see there's significant carbon deposits here around your bolt catch and on the face of the hammer. These are areas that can be wiped down with a paper towel or a clean cloth to remove those carbon deposits. If they're stubborn, you may want to consider using a wire brush or a nylon brush to help loosen them, along with your favorite solvent. We like to use CLP. We're going to go ahead and set this aside for now and focus mainly on the upper receiver group. In this case, the way an AR-15 works is by direct gas impingement, meaning that as a bullet travels down the barrel, gas is bled off through the gas block or the front sight block, traveling down a tube and then actuating the movement of the bolt inside the upper receiver. Because of this, the AR-15 tends to become quite fouled inside the upper receiver group, which is why we're going to be focusing a lot of our attention on this section. You see, just by taking one single wipe of a paper towel, this is the kind of carbon deposits that we're going to be finding inside of an AR-15 upper receiver group. So it's very important that you're careful to make sure you keep this section of the rifle as clean as possible, because it is the heart of the operating system of this weapon system. Go ahead and use this dirty towel over again with some CLP on it, just to get the interior of this rifle a little bit cleaner before we start using fresh towels that are in fact cleaner. Get a good scrub here, removing a lot of this carbon that's already in here. Look at that. It's not even halfway done yet. You can also apply CLP directly to a clean paper towel. Continue removing carbon from the upper receiver group of your AR-15 until these towels come out clean. This may take some time, as the direct impingement system of the AR-15 does tend to get very dirty after extended firing. Another important tool to have for cleaning an AR-15 is a chamber brush. As you may notice, this brush has an arrow section at the top, a medium-sized section here, and then at the base we've got a much larger wire section. This is to fit the chamber of an AR-15, the bottleneck top end of the cartridge, the main body of the cartridge, and the section where the locking lugs of the bolt carrier group engage with the barrel extension. On a cleaning rod, insert the chamber brush into the chamber and remove it back and forth, rotating slightly each time as necessary to loosen any stubborn carbon deposits that are inside the chamber. At this point, we're going to use a bore snake in conjunction with more CLP solvent, which we're going to first spray down the bore, and then we're going to feed our bore snake through brass weight end first until it protrudes from the end of the barrel, at which point we'll ensure the bore snake has smooth and free movement. We're going to thread the bore snake through the bore until it comes all the way out. This should be repeated as many times as necessary until the bore can be inspected and verified to be clean and free of any debris and carbon deposits. The lower receiver group typically doesn't receive as much carbon as the upper receiver group does. However, in the fire control group pocket, you will find that deposits and debris start to develop over time. To successfully and efficiently clean this area, you need to remove the hammer, the trigger, the sear, the disconnector, and all other parts associated with the fire control group. That is done by driving out these 2 pins here. That's also something that we don't typically offer in a basic cleaning service. However, if you want to have a higher tier cleaning service, that is available with a detail strip. The bolt carrier group is the heart of your AR-15. It's one of the most important component systems of the firearm. It's vital to ensure that this part of your firearm is clean and lubricated at all times. To start with cleaning and lubricating an AR-15 bolt carrier group, first, we'll remove this pin, place it to the side. Drop the firing pin. Now we're going to push the bolt back into the carrier. We're now going to go ahead and rotate the cam pin 90 degrees. Remove it, setting it off to the side, at which point we can now remove the bolt from the carrier assembly. Removing a pin from the extractor. We can then remove the extractor from the bolt. And there you have it, a fully stripped AR-15 bolt and bolt carrier group. Get some towels and some CLP. Once again, clean, lubricant, preservative. And we're going to start by brushing away carbon deposits on your bolt carrier group. As I mentioned before, it's vital that this section of the rifle stays extremely clean because it is the heart and soul of the operating system of an AR-15. As you can see, there's a lot of carbon coming off of this already. Paying special attention to any of the surfaces here, 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 and here. They should be readily apparent by the wear patterns, the areas where the finish is worn off and slightly silver. You can see where the AR-15 bolt carrier rides inside of the upper receiver. Also, it's a good idea at this time to go inside your bolt carrier group with a brush to help loosen any deposits that may be in this area. Run a paper towel inside of there to pick up any loose carbon that was loosened by the brush. As you can see, there's quite a bit in that channel, and we'll continue to do this as many times as necessary with more sections of clean paper towel until they start coming out clean. You can then focus on the bolt, which will go ahead and wipe off some or scrub off some carbon deposits with a brush. This is a particularly difficult area of the bolt to clean. There are specialty tools available to scrape this and other areas of the bolt. We'll not be covering that today because that is something that we do in our detail cleaning service that we offer here at Nova Armory. And this is a basic cleaning demonstration. So we'll go ahead and wipe off as much of the carbon as we can that we've loosened up with our brush and excess solvent. Set your bolt aside and go ahead and just do a quick wipe of the extractor pin. Put that off to the side. Once again, there are specialty tools available to scrape behind the claw of the extractor here, but we will not be covering that today because once again, this is a basic cleaning video, not a detailed cleaning. And once we've loosened carbon with our brush, we're just going to wipe any of that excess carbon off of our extractor. Moving on to the firing pin, give that a quick wipe down. Set it aside. Moving on to our last part here. This is the cam pin. There's also a tool that's specifically designed for the cam pin to be able to scrape carbon off of it. Sometimes it benefits from a slight scrub with a wire brush as well to remove any carbon that's found its way onto the cam pin. Give that a quick wipe down to remove any of that loose carbon. And now we're going to reassemble our bolt carrier group. To do this, we first take a bolt, place our extractor back into the bolt, Take the retaining pin for the extractor, insert it, and then press it through so that it's not protruding from either side. There we go. Okay. Then we're going to take our bolt and lubricate it. In this case, I'm going to be using CLP, which is good enough for the Marine Corps, so it's good enough for me. I'm going to spray a little bit of CLP onto our bolt, spread that around on this silver ring that is a load-bearing surface. I want to ensure that that's well lubricated. We also want to ensure the spacing of our gas rings. It's very difficult to see on camera, but these should be rotated approximately 120 degrees away from each other since there are 3. And that looks pretty close. Let's get this last one rotated over this way. I'll go ahead and insert our bolt with the extractor facing this way and the ejector, which is this small cylinder, facing this way. We want to insert our bolt fully so that we can then reinsert our cam pin. If the bolt is rotated 180 degrees from where it's supposed to be, the cam pin will not insert. So ensure, as I've showed you before, the ejector is to the right, extractor is to the left when it's in this position. Once we've inserted our bolt, we'll then insert our cam pin, rotate it 90 degrees, and then move the bolt forward. At this point, we're going to reinsert our firing pin. And then we're going to reinsert our firing pin retainer. At this point, your firing pin should be held in place, should not be able to be removed. Your bolt should move freely back and forth in the bolt carrier group with no resistance. And you now have a cleaned and almost lubricated bolt carrier. Last thing we want to do is place some lubricant on the load-bearing surfaces. Spread your CLP around. Wipe off any excess from the bottom, because keep in mind this will be resting against your magazine and you don't want to contaminate your ammunition with oil. Give a slight dab just to ensure that there's not too much excess dripping off. Go ahead and spread that around on the rest of the bolt carrier group, just to ensure that everything slides nicely and smoothly in your upper receiver. There you have it, cleaned and lubricated AR-15 bolt carrier group. Now that we've finished cleaning and lubricating our bolt carrier group, we're going to go ahead and address reassembly of the AR-15. Starting with the upper receiver, we're going to first take our charging handle, reinsert it, pressing up until it engages in its channel. Press it halfway in, take the bolt carrier with the gas key, this section, facing upwards with the bolt fully extended out. We'll place it so the gas key fits in the channel of the charging handle and send it home with a nice authoritative click. That will also latch the charging handle into the upper receiver. We'll reintroduce our lower receiver. You want to ensure that your hammer is back. Also, as a side note, make sure that you never pull the trigger and allow your hammer to move forward when the receivers are separated, as this can cause damage to either your lower receiver or your bolt catch by the hammer striking this area of the firearm. So always ensure that that's locked back and your safety is engaged so that you don't have an accident with that. At this point, you can place the receiver set together and reinsert the takedown pins. We'll go ahead and check for function. Everything seems to function just fine. We now have a fully cleaned and lubricated AR-15 weapon system. If you have any further questions or comments about the cleaning or maintenance of your AR-15, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at Nova Armory, as we do offer a detailed cleaning service for this weapon system. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you in the next video.